So in this video, I want to address briefly one of my viewers' questions. They want to know what my opinion is as far as trucking being a recession-proof industry. I want to talk a little bit about that in this video, just briefly. But before I get into sharing my opinion, I want you, the viewer, to let me know what you think about that. Let me know down in the comments. Would you say that trucking is a recession-proof industry? I actually feel that trucking is as close to a recession-proof industry as you can get. I mean, as long as things are moving around the country, then trucking is going to be needed. Okay, so like from that perspective, I would say that trucking absolutely is recession-proof. But we know that freight can slow up. We know that things affect the movement of freight. We know that right now there's a lot of people being affected by low rates and freight not moving like we wanted to as truck drivers, and store shelves and warehouses being full of inventory already. We all know that those things affect freight. So how is it that I can even, say that trucking is anything close to being recession proof? Well, again, I feel like as long as the economy is at least puttering along, as long as transactions are happening somewhat, then there's going to be the need for trucks. So, trucking nothing is 100% recession proof, because there's things that happen in the economy that are outside of our control. But again, I would say that trucking is the closest thing almost to being recession proof as you can get. Now, here's the thing, here's the catch, here's the real takeaway from this video that I want you to get. Trucking is close to being recession proof, but are you? That's the question you gotta ask yourself right now. That's the question that I want this viewer to really dig into and really understand. Sure, on one hand, there's pretty much always going to be the need for people to drive trucks to move freight, as long as freight is moving. But right now, as we speak, because of changes that are happening in the economy, companies are tightening up. Companies are tightening up on how they run. Companies are tightening up on how they spend a dollar, just as we all are as individuals right now in this economy. And what that means is companies right now, as we speak, are going from being willing to deal with everything to being willing to deal with a little bit less. Companies are starting to focus more in now on hiring good drivers as opposed to just hiring any kind of driver. Companies are focusing in right now on doing the things in their businesses that really move the needle. So when it comes to hiring, that's the point that I want this new viewer to get. When it comes to hiring, companies are tightening their hiring processes right now, because there's a whole lot more, there's a bigger pool of employees in the marketplace to pick from. So companies feel like, why pick from the bottom of the barrel when we can be getting the cream? We can be getting the good talent. We can be getting the good workers with good driving records, because they're out in the marketplace right now. So if the reason that that's important and the reason that's relevant to the subject of trucking being recession proof is because right now, the way that companies are operating, if you as an individual, if you got your shit together, pardon my language, but if you have your stuff together, if you're tight, if you got a good driving record, if you got a good work habit, then you're going to be the type of individual that a company is looking for when they're hiring. And you're also going to be the type of individual that a company is looking to hold on to when they're looking to trim down their labor force. But if you're a slacker, then you are not recession proof, because again, companies are tightening down on what they're willing to deal with right now. So while an individual can come into the closest thing to being a recession-proof industry that there pretty much is, the profession of trucking, that individual could still come into trucking and find themselves being a victim of downsizing due to a recession, due to a tightening economy. If that individual is not somebody that's on their A game, if that individual is not someone that the company wants to hold on to when they're downsizing, or if that individual is not somebody that the company wants to hire when they're looking at expanding their labor force. So again, just for the viewer that asked this question about trucking being recession proof, my opinion is nothing is 100% recession proof, but trucking is as close to being recession proof as pretty much any other type of profession out here in the economy. But just because you're coming in a pretty much recession-proof industry, that doesn't mean that you won't fall victim to downsizing due to companies tightening their policies during tough economic times like a recession. So when you come into trucking, you need to have your stuff together. If you got your stuff together, if you got your work habits together, you got a good driving record, you're the type of individual that a company would want, then your job in trucking is pretty much going to be secure, because good drivers that got their shit together are not easy to come by. Okay, but drivers that don't have their stuff together, people that have a CDL that don't have their stuff together, or want to get a CDL that don't have their stuff together, they're a dime a dozen. So even though Mr. or Miss Viewer, whoever that was, because I couldn't tell by the name, but whoever you are, yeah, you're coming into pretty much a recession-proof industry, but you still got to have your stuff together. And if you're not, then it doesn't matter that you're in a recession-proof industry. You're not going to be the type of individual that a company wants to hold on to or hire. So the profession is recession-proof. The question is, are you?